Hello, my name is Garnet and welcome to this crochet tutorial on how to make this crocheted purse with the touch of macrame and making of square knots in our little decorative center. The whole bag is done with the half double crochet, and this one is where we drop it. So we just add a little length to the half double crochet. Nothing hard. A very easy beginner bag. The plastic handles that I got from a place in Florida. Hopefully they're still open. And I love the coloring, so that's how I chose the coloring for my bag. So come join me and I'll show you how to make this very simple, easy and big opening with a touch of macrame handbag. The materials and the tools we're going to use to make this purse. Here I have a black and gray with some white variegated. I have a variegated gray, light gray and white, and then I have a solid black. I have these purse handles. I chose the colors to match the handles. We have a large eye tapestry needle, a hook, K 10.5, 6.5 millimeter, and a pair of scissors. In the making of our purse, we're also going to be using stitch markers. Now, in case your purse handles are different than mine, this one comes with an opening here. What I'd like for you to do is to measure from here to here, and you will make a chain that will be as long as the opening on your purse handles. And this will start on our very bottom of our bag. So with a short tail, let's make our slip knot and start with our chain. Now my chain may be different than yours. I will give you a measurement and a chain count in just a minute. Now, if you find handles that are like mine, the opening here to here is 10 inches, and I started with a chain of 25. I'm going to add 2 to build up to our next row. And we're going to start off with a half double crochet. So continue with a half double crochet till you get to the end of the row. So at the end of the row, you see we've already got one in that last stitch. Let's add 2 more, and that'll take us around the corner. And you can go over your tail at the same time. Alright, so add 1 more in that last stitch, and we're starting our count now for the back. So we got 1 and 2, and continue all the way down till you get to the end of the row, and I'll meet you there. So in our last stitch here, we're going to go ahead and add 3. 1, 2, and 3. And we'll go ahead and slip stitch into that first chain and chain 1. I like the variegated because it gives us a different look. Alright, so we chained 1. So in that same chain 1 space, let's go ahead and do 2 half double crochets. Okay, and then do 1. You got 1 and 2. See at the beginning at that last of the row where you had the extras? So stop on the second one and I'll meet you there. So we've gone to the second one. So in our center one right here, let's go ahead and place 3 half double crochets. Then continue with 1 till you get down here to the end of the row. So in that stitch just before our slip stitch of the previous row, let's go ahead and add 2 half double crochets, because when we started this row we put 2 right here. So let's finish off this row, slip stitch into that first one, chain 1, and then in our first stitch 1 half double crochet. So continue with 1 all the way down till we get where it starts to curve, and we'll add some more right there. So you can see the next 2 is part of the curve. So we'll place 2 in this one and 2 in this one. I was going to say I love the half double crochet stitch. It was one of the first stitches I learned when I first began crochet, and what I like about it is that you can wrap it and it's like a single crochet, so it's quick, but the extra wrap gives it height, and it's not like a double crochet where you have to 1 1 1 1 1 1. So I hope you're enjoying this. Alright, so we got 2 and 2, so we're going to do 1 all the way down to the other end. And to cut this a little short, you have 1 here and 1 here, so 2 and 2, and then slip stitch, and then we'll start working on the actual side of our purse. So we've completed the bottom of our bag. Now you're going to notice that it is a little bit bigger. This is okay, is so we will have a little opening right here, so when we open and close our bag, because this is not a curve, this is flat, so we're going to have an opening. So you ready to move on to the next row? Let's do that. Let's go ahead and chain 1. Now I'm probably not going to be your friend right now, but I'm okay with that. I would like for you to do back post half double crochet all the way around, and the reason being is it'll give us a nice chain finish, and it'll also encourage the stitch to start to go straight up. So you're going to notice that when we go around. So let me do a few so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so can you see the chain? That'll give it a little bit of design, and you can already see how it's got a 90-degree angle. So continue around. I'll meet you at the end of the row. Let's go ahead and slip stitch it when you get there. So after counting around, make sure that you have an even number all the way around. Okay, so here we're going to chain 1. In our next stitch, we're just going to do half double crochet again, and this will be the base for the beginning of our row. So 1 half double crochet around, make sure you have an even number at the end of your row, and I'll meet you there and we'll start our pattern on our next row. So in case you started out with the same number that I have 64 half double crochets on these 2 rows. So I've slip stitched into the first one. Let's chain 1 and let's start our pattern. So we're going to half double crochet in our first, okay, and then in our next stitch we're going to come way down below the other one, so yarn over and go below the stitch. Okay, now we want it to be loose enough, so you're going to want to stretch it up till it's even. Yarn over and then through all three, and you can see how it drops down into our next stitch, just our regular half double crochet, and then in our next stitch we're going to drop down. Okay, make sure you bring that up. Can you kind of see the pattern right here? And let's continue on. Our next stitch, half double crochet, and then this half double crochet. I'm going to call it a drop. So, and then make sure your yarn comes up. Okay, so that's this one here. Let's go to the next one. Make sure that you don't accidentally put your next stitch in the one that had the drop. Sometimes that can happen. We don't want it to happen. So our next one, okay, and then bring it up. All right, continue around. We'll slip stitch here. Your last stitch should be the drop, and then I'll show you what row 2 will look like. All right, I have not finished the row yet. I still have one drop to do. So let's drop it, and then here's our single crochet at the beginning of this row. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that stitch, not into the chain, and then I'm going to chain 1. Now, because this half double crochet was the beginning, now the beginning of the next row will be the drop. So let's yarn over and drop below that one. Make sure you bring your loop up to the right level, and then the drop from the previous row will get the half double crochet. So we're doing an opposite here. Here's the drop, the half double crochet, so we're going to turn that into a drop. Okay, when we're done, we'll see a line of these drops. It'll look really nice. So continue on around, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. I hope you're finding this to be pretty easy. I'm finding it to go pretty quick. I love the half double crochet. Oh, that's right, I already said that. All right, continue around, and your last stitch here will be just the half double crochet, and then slip stitch into the top of the first drop. So I completed my last half double crochet. That was row 2. So now we're going to go ahead and do row 1 again. Okay, so we slip stitched into our drop. So let's chain 1, and right here we're just going to go ahead and do our half double crochet, and then in our next, our drop. So this will be row 1 again. So we're doing a 1 and 2 row repeat. Continue this for 5, maybe 6 total rows. We're beginning row 3. Do 2 or 3 more rows, and then we'll change colors, and I'll meet you there. Can you see the nice pattern that we got going on now? So I've completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of the black and gray variegated, and I've come to the end where it's starting to turn gray. So now I want to bring in my white and light gray variegated. So before I finish this row, I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook into that first stitch, pull my loop through, and then on the inside go ahead and make my knot. Okay, and we can stitch over this as we put it in. Chain 1, and our first will be just the half double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch over my tails. The lighter color will give it a definite change in the look. Now my next stitch here is the drop. And I'm still weaving in my tails as I go along. So let's go ahead and do 4 rows of our light color variegated, and I'll see you in a few minutes where we're going to start making our changes with our darker color. So here's my 4 rows of the white, and so far you can see how the colors are working very nicely with these handles. The next color that I'm going to add is the black, and we're going to do 2 rows of black, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to have the open space here, so our macrame will go right here. So we're going to add our black the same way we did with our other color. Bring it through. Go ahead and tie our square knot. And then use our tails in part of the stitching where we can weave over them. The nice thing is this dark color is really going to leave an impact on our pattern. Now our first one right here is our drop, so we're just going to do our regular half double crochet. Now I know because of using black yarn, a lot of times it doesn't show the stitch real well, but you can already see the impact that color has in the change. Okay, so continue around, do this for 2 rows, and then I'll show you our change next. At the end of the 2 rows of the dark color, let's go ahead and finish our end off. So we're going to cut and pull it in. We can actually weave this in when we do our stitching across. Next thing I'm going to do is I want you to find the center. Alright, so once we find the center, we're going to subtract some stitches here and subtract some stitches here. Okay, so go ahead and find the center. I'll tell you how many in just a second to subtract, and then we'll get started on our new row, continuing on with our dark color. So here I have found my center. I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. Into the 6th one, I'm going to place my stitch marker, and I'm going to do the same thing this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into the 6th one, my stitch marker. You want to count to the end here and do the same thing, making sure that you have the same amount of stitches on this side around to here, and around this side to here. So here you'll see I have marked one side and the other side. We have 5 in between, and on the side here we have 20, and on the other side we have 20. So we can go ahead and remove our center stitch markers because we're not going to need those. Let's lock these up. And we're going to start here on our first one. So it will be, I'm right-handed, so we're going to be going this direction. We're going to start on the left side in front. So we're going to start with a standing drop half double crochet. So here's our tail over here. Place your finger on the loop on your hook, wrap it around, insert down below, and bring up the loop, yarn over and through all 3 loops on the hook. Okay, and bring our tail around, and that'll start on our next stitch. Our next one here is the drop, so that means we're going to do the half double crochet. Continue with our pattern till you hit your first stitch marker, which will just be the 20 stitches, until you get to this stitch marker here, and I'll meet you there. So as I come up on this last stitch, this one is the half double crochet, and I'm going to take this stitch marker out because I'm done with it. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work, and what we're going to do is the same thing. You can see the back side of the stitch where we can still drop when we have a half double crochet, and where our drop is we can do a regular half double crochet. So within the 20 stitches here, go ahead and do that for a total of 4 rows. At the end of the row, go ahead and finish it off, but leave yourself a tail of about 24 inches. Then create a slip knot on your hook and start where your next stitch marker is, and do the same amount of rows and the same thing on this other side. With our tail that I have here, I'm going to stitch over that, so that'll eliminate a lot of weaving in. I'll see you in a few minutes. So the next thing we're going to do is sew our handle to our bag where the opening here is. Now originally I thought I had it right, but I didn't, so I'm redoing it. So with the end yarn that you have coming out, I would like for you to double it and put it into your yarn needle, okay, and then pick up the end stitching and count over 1, 2, 3 stitches, and then fold it, and then count over 3 stitches again, 1, 2, 3, and place your needle in there and lock it up. All right. So the folded part is going to be into the center, and the square part here is going to be the top. So I'm going to take my handle and I'm going to lay it over the top like this, and then I'm going to bring my yarn through that handle, and then I'm going to do a weave stitch. Basically just go through the stitching that I just did and come back through the handle we want to do this twice. So the next time I go down, I'll go on to the second on the front and on the back. I'm going to go through it twice. And then on the last two, I'm going to do that twice. Then I'm going to go back in, and where it's go in and then open the fold and pull the needle through the center here. And then with the 2 yarns that I started off with, I'm going to go ahead and make a square knot. And cut my ends. Okay, so you'll want to do the same thing for this other side, and then with your second handle you do the same thing for these two here. So after our straps are sewn on, look at the nice big opening that we have. You'll find that when you fold it over the end here, it encouraged the bag to go into the center, so when you closed it you have a fold here. Okay, so normally it would have been out here, but to give it a more pleasing look, we have it going in and making it easier for opening so that you can place a laptop or something inside here. There's enough space. So let's move on to our design in the center. So before we move on, I want to show you the design I came up with using a touch of macrame for the fill-in on our bag. Very simple square knots. I'll show you how to do that. And then on the inside is where we tie it off. And I'm going to encourage you to use a liner so that you can cover all of the tie-ins on the inside. So with our variegated 24 inches, 8 pieces of this one and of this one. So after we have our 8 cut pieces, take 2 and fold them in half and set them aside. This will make it easier when we have to place it on the handle of our bag. And do that to this one and these. So before we put our cut pieces on, I wanted to show you I have the gray, the white, gray, white, gray, white, gray, white. Now you can do any combination that you want, but this is the one that I chose to do. So let's go ahead and place our cut pieces on. I'm going to take our folded one, go from the outside of the bag down, like so. Do whatever order you want to do, and I'll meet you in a minute. All right. Yep, and they match. So next we're going to divide. We're going to take 3 on one side and 3 on the other. And in this case the white will be in the center. So we're going to go ahead and do a square knot. So we have our white in the center. We're going to make like a number 4. Take the other one, go over the top of this one, go under the center one, and come out through this hole right here. Okay, and now it's this one's turn. Making a square knot is left over right, right over left. So we're going to go over, and then we're going to come up through that hole. And here a square knot always has that one on the top. Alright, so we've completed this one on the end. That went by pretty quick. For the one in the center, we're going to take 2 and 2. So the center will have 4. 2 of one and 2 of the other. So we're going to do the same thing we just did. Got number 4. Take our white, go over the top, under the center, and come up through the hole. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Keep it simple. I like the coloring of the center one. Okay, and then do the same on this last one here. The lint from this yarn is kind of getting to me, and that's the reason why I was stopping. I'm just kind of swallowing lint. There we go. All right, so now all of this is going to go into the center. So once you bring it up through the hole, okay, we're going to go ahead and lay it down flat. Take our bag. Now I'm going to start with the center, this one here on the end. So if you go back and count your chains, okay, we're going to skip this first one and go to the second one. And take your hook and go down like this. Place all of that on there, and it'll come right through. And then the next one, we go back to that one we skipped, pull this through, and then the next one over. All right, let's skip the one in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to go and do the same thing on this one here. I'm going to start off with the center, so I skipped that first chain. Oops, there we go. You want to pull it all through. Let's go back to that one we skipped. Pull all those through. And here's this one right here. I forgot one, so I'm going to go back. So the ones here in the center, we should have 5 chains. So I'm going to go to the very center one and find that center. That'll have the 4 on there. And pull it through. There we go. All right. So once you got all of them pulled through, you want to make sure that all the strands, the square knot looks correct. Okay. So here's that hole we're going to fill. Now, this is the part you're going to question, but it's okay. So to finish these ends off here, we're going to go ahead and take one from this chain and one from this chain and tie it off. Just make another square knot. And then I'm going to take this one. It's been secured to that one, so we're going to go ahead and secure this one. And like I said, make sure that you have this the way that you want it to look, because once you put those knots in it, it's going to stay that way. Okay. So I'm going to take 2 here. And so basically I'm just going to take 2 all the way across. Now this one here on the end, I can take 2 from the one on the other side. And then I can take this one, since it's been tied. Now remember, all of these knots that you see that we're doing right here will be hidden, because you'll go ahead and sew a liner here. Now if you choose not to use the liner, you can go ahead and just lay it inside and it will stay inside your bag. Or if you want, you can bring it on the outside, but I thought it might take away from the actual pattern, the crochet pattern. It's all of your choice. If you want, you can hang little beads on it. You know, it'll look super cute. And here we are almost done. You can see how quickly it goes. Yeah, this lint, I don't know why, but this particular yarn, it is a bulky weight yarn, but it's, for some reason, has a lot of lint. I bought this at AC Moore before they closed. Okay, so I'm just going to shove everything on the inside here and show you what I have. And we are done except for the liner. So I hope you enjoyed this crochet tutorial with the little touch of macrame in the center. And I hope you find this a very beautiful bag. I love it. Coloring came from the handles. I will place a link of where I got these handles. They are from Accento Craft out of Florida. Hopefully they're still in existence. We do have this pandemic going on right now. And I love this bag. It has a nice, good size opening. Nice handles. Beautiful coloring. Thank you for joining me. I hope you come back. I'll come up with some other ideas. Maybe you'll like those too. So, till next time. Bye-bye.